Hello everyone, this is just a little mini video about what's been going on here with Google. I'm not sure if other YouTubers are but I'm trying to sign into my DDarko 2012 account. At first I was having issues just being able to sign in. It kept loading and loading and the page was completely white. Then trying to sign out, it wouldn't let me sign out. And then when I got into the comments, it said, a big red thing came up saying, oops, the server's bad or server error. It wouldn't even let me go in to see the comments. And then I'm like, I just tried to sign in again after I signed out. It says Google 502, that's an error. So the server encountered a temporary error and could not complete your request. Please try again in 30 seconds. That's all we know. So definitely some issues going on. I've had issues with my Blogger account since I got the GGN online.net back. And I'll go in there and it'll give me some error so that I can't see any of my statistics. It's working today, but for the most part, it usually doesn't work. So like there's these little games that are still played, kind of like my whole GGNonline.com. Like I said, I worked 3 years on building up, and then when I try to renew it, they do everything that they could with all those stupid errors and that to be able to renew it. And so here it is. I finally, it's been about 2 weeks now that it's been, quote, expired, but 2 weeks prior to that, when they basically prematurely suspended it, and so I could never actually renew it. And then what did they do? They did exactly what I thought they were going to do. I got an auction on my own freaking domain, $70. You do not have this domain on back order, so yeah, they're going to try to sell back my own domain that was worth $10 now. It's $70. And you can be rest assured that I've lost a decent amount of views from that little attack that they carried out. I lost about 60% of my views. So yeah, I'm trying to go in here and check my comments, and it just loads. If I'm having this issue, I'm sure that there's other YouTubers, so if you are, just let me know. Yeah, there we go. I was waiting for it to come up, the little message. So yeah, it's basically blocking me out of everything. I try to just go into my video manager, so it's usually, if you don't know, it's where you can go and edit videos and stuff like that. It's different from the comment section and personal messages, and again, they don't let you in there, so I don't know what's going on with Google. It could just be, like I said before, I've mentioned this before, about when they're using kind of like with the buffering speed when it's real slow, or there's issues with that where it just locks up at 3 minutes and says that's the whole video, 3 minutes. Like one viewer said, it's a good point, and I agree with it, which is, everything that someone watches with YouTube, it's probably, it's all logged and cataloged, in some database, and so it takes a lot of bandwidth, and it takes it's sucking up a lot of memory, a lot of basically energy to do that. It's funny though, because I saw something yesterday where it was talking about all this massive information. These data centers are storing all this information about how it actually poses a security threat. So whatever that's worth, is, like I said, that's as if, or we're assuming that we actually have sovereign governments, which I don't think we do. But for whatever it's worth, for at least trade and business security, they're saying that collecting all this information, it does actually pose some kind of a security risk, because it could all be hacked and compromised. So who knows where they're going to go with that. But I was thinking about it today when I was going for a walk. Going for a walk with my dog, and I noticed that in the little, I live in a small town. I think it's like 4,000 people. I don't know what the actual numbers are. That's a lot for some people, but it's like a small city basically. And there's Amish here and stuff. And there's actually a surveillance camera. I never even noticed it in a little park area that I've walked past, for a couple of years now. And there's got a 360-degree circular one of those cameras, and it actually has a little Wi-Fi antenna hooked up to the top of it. And this thing's on a telephone pole. It's like right over one of the baseball fields, and it's way up there. You wouldn't even notice it. Even someone like me that's usually pretty, I like pay attention to details and stuff like that, and I observe what's going on, especially with chemtrails, and I never even noticed it. So, maybe it just went up, but I just think it's kind of spooky that they would have a camera like that. And I thought the first thing was like, because sometimes the cops park there and they're like, we got to protect our kids, and the first thing I think of is like, oh, okay, you see, that's the philosophy of modern society is, got to protect the kids, got to protect the future. But we all know that that's either a blatant lie coming from the state, or B, that's just a very morbid, twisted philosophy. Because these are people that they poison their kids' water, they poison their food, they poison their bodies with vaccines and put poison in there. They force them into school to get indoctrinated into this system, and they poison their minds. And with the culture that's created of consumerism, basically self-loathing, you know what I'm talking about as far as the culture of... it is no culture. I mean, that's what it is. It's a completely manufactured form of a culture that really isn't culture at all. It doesn't come from the people. It's completely manufactured consent from the top down to basically control people. And so they poison their souls ultimately. And so they're completely poisoned. And people do this to their own youth, their own children. And yet they try to act as if they're doing it for the children, for the best of the, to keep them safe, right? So I just think that's kind of funny that here in kind of a smaller city or a bigger town, that they would have like a sophisticated camera. That's something that you see like in downtown Chicago, just chilling there. But it's just another example of how much money, how much revenue goes into political law enforcement, the departments and that all throughout America. I might as well just keep going. Things that I've had on my mind or I observed recently, I might as well just hash it out here. I have no problem filling a 15-minute video with my thoughts because I know you guys sometimes find them useful. So a quick update on the neighbor who had his house broken into. Basically firearms is what it was, and that's what I figured it was. And this guy, of course, has a Gadsden flag, "Don't tread on me," and on his car, and he has an American flag flying over his little house there. And I was dogging him because I was saying, well, he went to the cops, and I'm like, well, if it's probably de facto registered by doing background checks, so they know what it is. And it's going to come back to you anyway, so why even go to the cops? Why drag it in? Like I said before, they had like this, again, another example of where all this revenue goes towards for these bogus, not having a turn signal or some shit like that. They had like a mini CSI team. These guys had rubber gloves and all kinds of fancy equipment, and they were, God only knows what they were doing. They were doing everything but knocking on doors and actually talking to people. And that's how it always is. Like that poor bastard with his Rottweiler that was over there kind of just walking past and stuff, and they shot his dog 4 times. I mean, this is the mentality. They don't want any participation from the community at all. Just stand aside. Even like the whole story about the priest, the mystery priest. Why did the guy bail? Well, because it's like he could have been sued. He could have been arrested for interfering with with either a crime scene or interfering with emergency rescue authorities, officials. So the 2 points here I want to make is that one, that individual had an M16, and he had it in his car at work. So I'm like, this is a mentality of people that listen to Alex Jones. Because I know I went through this phase very shortly. Luckily, red alarms were going, red alerts were going off in my head eventually, and I got sick of them. Just like listen to Alan Watt, like someone said, very monotonous, robotic, almost like it puts you in a trance. You just tune out, which is good. That's a good thing that you're doing that. But these people, they're waiting for the end times, and they're like thinking this is gonna be like Red Dawn or something, where he's gonna be at work and he's gonna need his M16. You know what I mean? But it may never come. That's kind of the sad thing, is that it may never come. There may never come a situation where we might be able to have a chance to break free from this grid, from this system. But until we do that, because I don't think any of this is going to happen somehow it's going to happen peacefully, passively. I think there's going to be there has to be a major shakeup of the current order, and the powers that be don't want that. So, like these info warriors and these quote patriots and these preppers, there's two ways of survival, right? There's I'm going to protect what's mine, and then there's going to be people that want to form communities. I side with the communities. I want to form some kind of commune, some kind of anarcho primitive commune. That's what I would like to do. And there's some out there, but like down in Texas, they get raided, they get SWAT teamed and hogtied and treated like they're growing marijuana as they're peddling drugs out in broad daylight at your local grocery store called Pharmacia Pharmaceuticals, basically carrying out sorcery. It's just unbelievable, this evil world that we live in, that goes on right in broad daylight, and nobody says anything. Nobody says that, wow, that's kind of weird. So my other point was, as long as we're living in this society that's been given to us, that's been crafted for us by our alchemists, by our sorcerers, you can never really have any expectation of privacy. That's why with Big Brother type news, I've kind of held back a little bit on that, because it's something that you should pretty much know at this particular point if you listen to or watch these videos, is that there really is no expectation of privacy with technology. That's what technology is. And so people say, well, why do you use Google? Why do you use Blogger? Because I'm not that smart, to be honest with you. Tech savvy, I'm not it. I tried going with alternate operating systems like Linux, and that just didn't work for me. It was a complete mess. I tried doing WordPress. I got close, and I still might get it, and I won't give up. But I'm just not there. It's like I said, that's why I kind of gravitate. Hopefully in the future we can get there, is kind of more of a primitive, narco-primitivism. And that's what I'd like to be in, because I don't, this whole thing about intelligence, I think it's very overrated, to be honest with you, because then it leads to technology, which then enslaves people, and ultimately technology will destroy humanity, because it really just destroys you from the inside too, and destroys the connections that we have with each other. So, I saw that story of the 123-year-old man from Bolivia. God bless him. I don't even know if I'd want to live 123 years, but I would if I was living where he is. He's living up in the high mountains in Bolivia. His diet, he doesn't overeat. He eats mostly like those coca leaves that stave off, hunger. He's thin. He doesn't have any teeth. His vision's bad, but he said the key was walking, just moving around, walking. And someone said in the comment board, the key to longevity is not reading these Yahoo articles, and there's probably some truth to that. So, but I've been trying to throw some stuff out there recently that might benefit people's, alternative health and stuff like that, and just educational information. So I do try, guys, as far as bringing more positive information into this. It just, to me, when I see so much crap, so much evil, so much messing with humanity, I just want to cover it all, but you gotta try to pull back a little bit from it. But to finish my point about the intelligence, we got to educate the future. The guy was living up there, and he's living up there in Bolivia, 123 years old, born somewhere around 1890. He's probably going to break the Guinness Book of World Records. And they said he's illiterate, and because they put that out there. He's never used any technology, and he's illiterate. So I'm not trying to say that, you don't want to be intelligent or have knowledge. Otherwise, you won't live long. But I think that people do need to look at what knowledge is and wisdom. You think about it now, about how teenagers, they have it hard. It was hard for me in the 90s, to the late 90s, being a teenager. I mentioned that to a viewer about going to high school. It's really about isolation. All of a sudden, you go from grammar school. I mean, there's cliques then, but you go into high school, it's a whole new world. It's a microcosm of what you're going to see in the future, about all these groups breaking off, and people just all being phony, and then they go down their little paradigm rabbit holes. But a lot of them don't respect their parents, and in a way, you can understand that, because their parents don't hold any knowledge. They have no wisdom to pass down, and they're selling the present. They're basically selling the future for the present, and that makes sense, because they live off a mentality of complete debt, serfdom. So this is GGN. Thank you. I'm Darko.